Rappers are the most colorful and creative artists in all of music when it comes to lyrics. The ways our favorite rappers stretch their voices, use lyrical devices such as metaphors and similes, and make powerfully candid confessions results in a genre full of lyrical Picassos. But for all of the brilliant pictures today's top rappers can paint, we sometimes get pictures so out of whack that we have to pause and look at them again. This video will run through some of the most inaccurate bars in recent years from rappers such as Lil Yachty, Quavo, and even Jay-Z. We've all heard lyrics in a hip-hop song that have left us a little confused. It's a fun yet frustrating phenomenon that deserves a brief but deeper look. Here are some exceptionally inaccurate lines from some notable hip-hop artists. To start, we'll look at a couple of the worst bars involving animals. Not that we expect rappers to be zoologists, but some of these lines are just too much. In a low-key banger that is ounces off of the Migos' memorable 2014 mixtape No Label 2, Quavo raps, "The streets is a jungle, gotta watch for the koalas." For one, koalas aren't necessarily the scariest animal one could find in the wild, so comparing enemies and potential ops to them is funny. Secondly, koalas live exclusively in Australia and hang on eucalyptus trees in woody forests that aren't much like jungles. Even worse is the fact that Quavo rapped this bar on the hook, so the listener literally can't avoid hearing it. As humorous as Quavo's koala bar is, it isn't nearly as cringy or embarrassing as these next two. To start, Joel Santana gave us a worst bar of all time candidate in an otherwise fire 2007 track, Black Republicans, featuring Lil Wayne. In the track, Joel's gave us the infamous rockstar flyer than an ostrich. We don't think this needs any explanation from us. Funny enough, this mistake with ostriches being fly has even occurred again in more recent years. So Ski Master Slump God gave a very similar line, and Genius even called him out for it. So the last animal-related bar we have for you is from a surprising contributor, the living legend and hip-hop's first billionaire himself, Jay-Z. When you have as much music out in the world as Jay-Z, it shouldn't be that shocking to find the occasionally whack lyrics. But "I'm an animal, half man, half mammal" from Already Home on the Blueprint 3 takes a lot of explaining. You don't need to go full nerd to understand that humans are mammals, meaning a man is 100% mammal. It's a confusing, laughable bar from arguably the sharpest, wittiest rapper in history. Next up is a category where the inaccuracies, in other words, the lies, are probably the most egregious. Bars about money. Virtually all rappers have exaggerated or actively exaggerate a little bit when it comes to their finances. But as we're about to see here, there are serious levels to this self-inflation. With some help from Bloomberg Business Week via Genius, we'll be able to compare the claims of the several rappers with the truth about their bank accounts. To start, we have this bar from Nas in a 2012 song called No Introduction, off of his resurgent Life is Good album. The line goes something like this: "Walking up the dark stairwells, elevator was out of order, yeah, worth 200 million now." At the time the album dropped, Nas's net worth was actually negative 6 million because he owed the IRS a lot of money. That is a very difficult bar to beat, but plenty of rappers have come close to this level of bold-faced lying about their money on wax. Despite legitimately being worth 9 figures, Lil Wayne said this: "Last year I made $100 million flat. Run in your house, get to popping at your shower cap," in a feature verse on Jeezy's Ballin' in 2011. According to Bloomberg, Weezy's 2010 earnings were a fifth of what he claimed, coming in at 20 million. Funny thing is, he could have said 20 million instead of 100 and it would still be impressive, so why lie? Possibly the funniest bar in this category is Future's claim on the DS2 cut Rotation when he said this: "Bitch, I'm getting the same money as Cam Newton." In 2015, according to Celebrity Net Worth, Cam Newton's net worth was $45 million, and he had a 9-figure contract on the way. Future's net worth was a respectable but much smaller $8 million. What's funny isn't just the difference between his claimed wealth and his actual wealth, it's that he compared his wealth to a specific person, knowing that anyone could look it up and realize that he just flat out lied. Our last inaccurate bar about money comes from Diddy on a remix to the Harry Fraud-produced banger Shot Caller by French Montana in 2013. In the song, Diddy raps this: "Dipping in the Gaddy billboards in Tokyo, worth about $1 billion and still run the city." To be fair, Diddy did say about, but his net worth in 2013 was $580 million. A very impressive figure, but still more than $40 million away from billionaire status. As far as figures in hip-hop go, Diddy is one of the handful of people that can even flirt with the term billionaire. But in terms of total dollars, this might be the biggest embellishment of wealth on record. However, it isn't as bad in principle as saying you're worth 9 figures when you're actually in the red. The next category of bars that are inaccurate are bars about foreign people and languages. Unsurprisingly, the most referenced people and languages are Chinese, Japanese, Spanish, and various Latin American people. Some rappers are extremely cultured and make unique, thoughtful references to people and languages from outside the USA. Others just say what sounds real and expect you to get what they mean. To start is a funny one from the late Atlanta legend Bankroll Fresh. In arguably his biggest song, Walked In, Bankroll raps this: "I got one black and I got one Chinese. She be talking to me, she say Kung Pao." It was said in good humor, but you can't help but shake your head at the imagery, not to mention it's borderline racist. The next one is surprising because it comes from one of the more culturally aware rappers today, Kendrick Lamar. He's shown us a number of times that he's comfortable talking about Mexican Americans and using Spanish in his raps, like in his Fire feature on Schoolboy Q's Collard Greens. But in an attempt to draw inspiration from Africa's history and royalty, he butchered the Amharic word negus in his single I from his second major label album To Pimp a Butterfly, rapping, "Kendrick Lamar by far the realest niggas alive." This isn't an awful mistake, and he tried to stretch the word to show its similarity to the N-word, but pronouncing the word like that takes away from how it's actually said, and comedically lines it up with that infamous clip from the 2008 National Spelling Bee, where a visibly uncomfortable white kid is asked to spell the word since the judges are also mispronouncing it. Kendrick's intention was pure, but he still has to hold a light L for this one. Back to the outrageous bars. We have Nicki Minaj and her 2010 hit Your Love off of Pink Friday. In the song, she paints a strange East Asian fantasy rapping, "When I was a geisha, he was a samurai. Somehow I understood him when he spoke Thai." To start, geishas and samurais are Japanese figures, and even if Nicki was saying that she knew her dream was weird when she said "somehow I understood," it doesn't make the bar less confusing and lazy despite its entertainment value. The last one we have for you is another Future bar, this time from the song Never Gon' Lose, off the now classic mixtape 56 Nights. Right out the gate, Future raps this: "This from Australian and I'm an alien." Future's taste for the baddies is notably global, but this minor slip up in saying what the lady is rather than where she's from is hysterical and actually makes the song better. Future saying he's an alien right after that slip up actually feels like an explanation for the weirdness for the first part of the bar. There are plenty of other categories we could have imagined for inaccurate rap lines, but we're gonna end the video on some miscellaneous bars that deserve a second look. To start, it's Quavo again, still on No Label 2. This time it's the banger Antidote, and he says, "We making a motion picture, Michelangelo." Needless to say, Michelangelo was a painter and didn't make motion pictures. Rick Ross comes through with the next completely wrong bar from High Definition off of his Rich Forever mixtape, rapping this: "Put a number on your helmet like it's Notre Dame." Turns out Notre Dame's football helmets don't have numbers on them. To wrap it up, we'll end on a Future verse by Raekwon on Fat Joe's 2011 promo single Pushin' Keys. In the song, Raekwon issues a threat saying, "Don't get drowned in one of the Mediterraneans." It's true that there are many seas around the Mediterranean, but unfortunately for this bar, there is only one actual Mediterranean sea. Also, here's a bonus one that I literally just came up with. That one time Lil Wayne said, "Wheezy F baby," and the F is for phenomenal. Now, we all know phenomenal spelled with a PH, but that's neither here or there. So in conclusion, rappers are not perfect, and getting the point across is much more important than actually being factually accurate most of the time. But the occasional fact check of our favorite rappers' bars is necessary, and it's usually a good laugh either way. This has been a Hip Hop Madness original. Make sure to stay tuned and stay up to date with everything we got going on by hitting that subscribe button and notification bell. Oh, and don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Hip Hop Madness and join the movement.